The lights went out at exactly 3:47 in the morning. Station time. Dr. Emily Park was alone in Laboratory 6 when it happened. She had been studying tissue samples from a creature called the Vroth, a spider-like predator with 8 legs and skin like black glass. The work was boring but necessary. Someone had to do it, and Emily never minded the night shifts. The station was quiet at night. She could think. When the emergency lights flickered on, painting everything in dim red, Emily did not panic. She had grown up on a cattle ranch in Montana, where power outages happened every winter. Darkness was not her enemy. It never had been. She saved her work on the computer and stood up slowly. The station's AI voice came through the speakers, calm and mechanical. Warning. Containment failure in Sector 7. All personnel proceed to evacuation points. Emily felt her stomach drop. Sector 7 was the predator wing. That was where they kept the dangerous ones. Not just dangerous, the most dangerous creatures from 17 different worlds. Things that could kill with a touch. Things that hunted in packs. Things that had evolved for millions of years to be perfect killers. She walked to the door of her laboratory and looked out into the corridor. The red emergency lights made shadows jump and move on the walls. She could hear sounds in the distance. Screaming, running footsteps. Something else, 2 clicking sounds, like sharp claws on metal floors. The evacuation pods were 3 levels above her. She would have to climb through the maintenance shafts or take the main corridors. The shafts were slower, but safer. The corridors were faster, but open. Emily chose the corridors. Not because she was brave, but because she knew something that most people forgot about predators. They expected prey to hide. They expected prey to run away and find small dark places to squeeze into. The shafts would be full of scared people doing exactly that. The corridors might be more open, but they would also be less predictable. She grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall. It was heavy and solid in her hands. Then she found a maintenance knife in the supply closet, a simple blade used for cutting cables and opening panels. Not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. Before she left, she pulled up the station map on her tablet. The screen glowed in the darkness. She studied the layout, memorizing the paths, the doors, the places where corridors became narrow. Her father had taught her to always know the land before you moved through it. A hunter who doesn't know the ground, he used to say, becomes the hunted. Emily started walking. The first body she found was a security guard. He was lying against the wall, his weapon still in his hand. He had been killed quickly, 3 deep cuts across his chest. Emily knelt beside him and checked his pulse, but she already knew he was dead. His eyes were still open, frozen in surprise. Whatever had killed him, he never saw it coming. She took his security card and his communication device. The device was cracked, but still working. She clipped it to her belt and kept moving. The sounds were getting louder now. She could hear more screaming from somewhere above her. Alarms were ringing in distant parts of the station. Through the windows, she could see the cold light of distant stars and the dead gray surface of the moon below. No help was coming from out there. The nearest rescue ship was 6 hours away. They were alone. Emily reached a stairwell and started climbing. Her boots made soft sounds on the metal steps. She moved carefully, keeping her back to the wall, stopping at every landing to listen. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands were steady. Fear was useful if you controlled it. Fear kept you sharp. Fear kept you alive. On the second level, she found a group of scientists hiding in a storage room. There were 5 of them, 3 aliens and 2 humans. The aliens were small creatures with gray skin and large black eyes. They came from a peaceful world and had never seen violence in their lives. They were shaking with terror. One of the humans, a young man named James, looked up when Emily opened the door. His face was pale and wet with sweat. "Oh, thank God," he whispered. "We thought you were one of them. What's loose?" Emily asked. She kept her voice low and calm. "Everything," said one of the aliens. Its translator made its words sound flat and mechanical. The barriers all failed at once. "Every specimen in the containment wing is free." Emily felt a chill run down her spine. She had read the files on those specimens. She knew what was out there now. The Wrath with their echolocation and their poison fangs. The Scorian ambush hunters with venom that could kill in seconds. The crimson eels that tracked prey by body heat. And worst of all, the apex, 9 feet tall, intelligent, pack hunters that had raided human colonies and eaten families while they slept. "We need to move," Emily said. "The evacuation pods are 1 level up." "We can't," James said. His voice cracked. "There's something in the corridor. We heard it. It's waiting for us." Emily looked at the group. They were frozen, paralyzed by fear. If she left them here, they would die. If she stayed with them, they might all die anyway. She made a decision. "Stay here," she said. "Keep the door locked. I'll clear the path." "You can't," one of the aliens said. "You are only human. Those creatures out there, they are predators. They will kill you." Emily looked at the alien. She thought about her childhood on the ranch. She thought about the wolves that used to come down from the mountains in winter. She thought about the time she was 12 years old and tracked a wounded cougar through 3 miles of snow to protect her family's cattle. She thought about her grandmother, who had survived a war and raised 7 children and never once showed fear. "I am human," Emily said quietly. "That's exactly why I can do this." She stepped back into the corridor and closed the door behind her. The red emergency lights flickered above her head. Somewhere in the darkness ahead, she heard clicking sounds. Something was moving toward her. Emily raised her fire extinguisher and started walking forward. She was not prey. She had never been prey. And tonight, the predators of 17 worlds were going to learn what humanity really was. The clicking sounds grew louder as Emily moved through the corridor. She counted the clicks. 4 sets, maybe 5. The Wrath hunted in packs of 4 to 6. They used echolocation to find their prey in darkness, sending out high-pitched sounds and listening for the echoes. In their home world, nothing escaped them. Emily stopped walking. She pressed her back against the wall and closed her eyes. She needed to think. The Wrath were fast. Their 8 legs could carry them across walls and ceilings. Their fangs carried venom that would paralyze a victim in seconds. Fighting them head-on was suicide, but Emily had read their files. She knew their weakness. The Wrath had a strict hierarchy. 1 alpha led the pack. The others followed without question. Kill the alpha, and the pack would fall apart. They would scatter, confused and leaderless, until a new alpha emerged. That process took hours. The problem was finding the alpha. In the darkness, all Wrath looked the same. Emily remembered something from the research notes. The alpha always positioned itself in the center of the pack. It let the others move ahead to find prey while it stayed protected. A survival strategy that worked well against most creatures, but not against a human. Who knew the trick? Emily turned off her flashlight. Complete darkness surrounded her. She could still hear the clicking, getting closer. The Wrath were maybe 30 meters away now. They had found her scent. She started to move, but differently than before. She placed each foot slowly and carefully, rolling from heel to toe like her father had taught her when they hunted deer. No sound, no vibration. The Wrath echolocation was powerful, but it worked best on moving targets. A still target was almost invisible to them. Emily moved along the wall, inch by inch. The clicking sounds passed by her. She felt air move, as something went past close enough to touch. The Wrath was hunting for her in the wrong direction. Its echolocation had found nothing, so it assumed she had run ahead. She let 2 more pass. Then a third. She was counting. The 4th one moved slower than the others. More careful. More controlled. The Alpha. Emily struck without warning. She swung the fire extinguisher in a wide arc and felt it connect with something hard. There was a screech high and terrible. The Alpha fell. Emily hit it again and again until the screeching stopped. The other Wrath went insane. Their clicking became wild and chaotic. They ran in circles, climbing walls, bumping into each other. Without their leader, they had no direction. They were just animals now, driven by pure panic. Emily pressed herself into a doorway and waited. The Wrath scattered down the corridor, fleeing into the darkness of the station. In 30 seconds, they were gone. She turned her flashlight back on. The Alpha lay on the floor, its black glass body cracked and broken. Emily felt no satisfaction. She felt nothing at all. This was survival, not victory. There were still dozens more predators between her and the evacuation pods. She kept moving. The medical bay was 2 corridors ahead. Through the small window in the door, Emily could see movement inside. She could also see several aliens pressed against the far wall, a group of doctors and nurses who had been trapped when the containment failed. 3 Wrath were inside with them. They were moving slowly, clicking softly, enjoying the hunt. The aliens were crying. One of them was praying in a language Emily did not understand. Emily checked her supplies. The fire extinguisher was dented, but still worked. She had the maintenance knife. She had an idea. She opened the door just a crack. One of the Wrath turned toward the sound. Emily sprayed the fire extinguisher directly at it. The white chemical cloud filled the air, cold and thick. The Wrath screamed. Its echolocation was useless now. The cloud bounced the sound waves everywhere, creating a storm of false echoes. The creature was blind. Emily stepped into the cloud. The cold chemical stung her eyes, but she could still see the dark shapes moving. The Wrath could not. They were swinging wildly, hitting nothing but air. She killed the first one with the knife. Quick and clean, through the soft spot where its neck met its body. The second one ran, crashing into walls, desperate to escape the white fog that had stolen its senses. The third turned toward Emily, but it was too slow. She was already behind it. When the chemical cloud settled, Emily stood alone among the bodies. The aliens stared at her from across the room. Their large eyes were wide with something that looked like fear. "What are you?" One of them whispered through its translator. Emily wiped the blade on her coat. "I'm the night shift," she said. "Come on. We need to move." She led them out of the medical bay and down the corridor. The aliens followed her like children following a parent. They did not understand what they had just seen. On their world, there were no predators. They had evolved in peace, developing technology instead of survival instincts. The idea of hunting, of killing, was alien to them, but they understood one thing now. The small human woman walking ahead of them was more dangerous than anything in that containment wing. They reached the stairwell without incident. Emily sent the group up first, then followed behind, watching the darkness below. She could hear sounds from other parts of the station. More screaming, more alarms. The predators were spreading out, finding new prey. Emily thought about the evacuation pods. She thought about safety. She thought about escape. Then she thought about all the people still trapped in the station. Hundreds of crew members, scientists, engineers, janitors, people who had families, people who had done nothing wrong except come to work today. Thought she made a decision. At the next landing, Emily stopped. The aliens looked at her with confusion. "Keep going up," she told them. "The pods are on level 1. Get inside and launch immediately. Don't wait for anyone. What about you? James asked. He had joined the group from the storage room. Emily looked down into the darkness of the stairwell. Somewhere below, she could hear heavy footsteps. Something big was moving. Someone needs to buy time, she said. Someone needs to thin the herd. You'll die, James said. Emily smiled. It was a small smile, tired but real. Maybe, she said, but I'm going to make them work for it. She turned and walked back down the stairs. The darkness swallowed her. The aliens watched until they could not see her anymore. One of them spoke quietly to the others. I have studied humans for 20 years, it said. I thought I understood them. I was wrong. I do not think any species truly understands what humans are. They climbed toward safety. Behind them, somewhere in the dark station, Emily Park. Security Chief David Kim received the distress signal at 4:23 in the morning. He had been in the upper security station when the containment failed, coordinating the evacuation with what was left of his team. Half his people were already dead. The rest were scattered across the station, fighting a losing battle against creatures that had evolved to kill. David was 42 years old. He had served 15 years in the Marines before joining the station security force. He had seen combat on 3 different worlds. He had watched friends die. He thought he understood violence, but nothing had prepared him for this. The sensors showed 46 predators loose in the station. Some were alone. Others had formed hunting groups. They were spreading through the corridors like blood through veins, finding crew members, killing them, sometimes eating them. The station had become a hunting ground. David had accepted that many people would die tonight. He had made peace with that. But when he received Emily's signal, a simple ping from a stolen security device, he felt something he had not expected. Hope, she's alive, he said to his remaining officers. Level 3, moving toward the cargo bays. That's deep in Predator territory, said Officer Lisa Chun. She was young but capable. One of the few who had not run when the creatures broke loose. How is she still alive? David did not answer. He pulled up the security footage from the last 2 hours. The screen showed chaos corridors filled with running people. Creatures moving through shadows, bodies lying still on metal floors. But in one section, he found something different. Emily Park, walking calmly through a corridor. A fire extinguisher in one hand, a knife in the other. He watched her stop at an intersection. She tilted her head, listening. Then she moved to a control panel and did something to the lights. The corridor went dark in sections, creating patches of shadow and patches of light. What is she doing? Lisa asked. David watched the next part in silence. A crimson eel, a snake-like predator that tracked prey by body heat, slithered into the corridor. It was 5 meters long, covered in red scales that glowed faintly in the emergency lights. Its tongue flicked out, tasting the air. The eel moved toward the dark sections first. That was its instinct. It preferred shadows. But Emily had made the shadows cold. She had opened the air vents in those sections, dropping the temperature. To the eel's heat vision, those areas looked empty. The creature moved toward the warm sections instead, the sections where Emily was waiting. David watched her drop from a ceiling pipe onto the eel's back. He watched her drive the knife into its skull. The creature thrashed for 3 seconds, then went still. She's not running, David said quietly. She's hunting them. He switched to other cameras. The pattern repeated. In corridor after corridor, Emily was doing the impossible. She was using the station itself as a weapon. She closed doors to create choke points. She adjusted temperature controls to confuse heat seekers. She destroyed lighting panels to blind predators that relied on sight. A scorian, an ambush predator, with 6 eyes and venom glands, had tried to surprise her near the water recycling station. Emily had been waiting with a ruptured coolant pipe. The super-cold liquid hit the Scorian's venom sacs and froze them solid. The creature was still alive when David's cameras found it, but helpless. Its greatest weapon had been turned to ice. "She's hurting them," David realized. He traced her path on the station map. Every kill, every trap, every closed door, they all pointed in one direction. "She's pushing them toward Cargo Bay 7. Lisa looked at the map. "That's the only section with manual lockdown controls. If she can get enough of them in there, she can seal them in," David finished. "She's not just surviving, she has a plan." He made a decision. He grabbed his weapon and headed for the door. "Sir?" Lisa called after him. "Where are you going?" "To help her," David said. "Get every surviving crew member to the evacuation pods. I'll meet you there when this is done." He did not wait for a response. He was already running. The corridors of Level 3 were quiet when David arrived. Too quiet. He moved carefully, weapon raised, checking every shadow. The emergency lights cast everything in red, making the blood on the walls look black. He found the first body at the intersection near cargo storage. A Vroth, crushed and broken. Further ahead, another one, and another. Emily had left a trail of dead predators behind her like a message. Like a warning. David followed the trail. He found more evidence of her work as he moved deeper into the station. A maintenance shaft filled with the bodies of small tunnel-hunting creatures. She had flooded it with cleaning chemicals. A corridor, where the gravity plating had been reversed, leaving 3 predators stuck on the ceiling, confused and helpless. A storage room where she had somehow set a fire that burned only the creatures inside. David had trained soldiers. He had read military history. He had studied tactics from 100 worlds. But he had never seen anything like this. This was not combat. This was extermination. He found Emily in the maintenance tunnel near Cargo Bay 7. She was sitting against the wall, drinking water from a bottle she had found somewhere. Her coat was torn. There was blood on her hands, not hers. Her face was calm, almost peaceful. "Chief Kim," she said when she saw him, "took you long enough." "Dr. Park." David lowered his weapon. "What the hell have you been doing down here?" Emily took another drink of water. "My job," she said. "I'm a xenobiologist. I study these creatures. I know how they think, how they hunt, what they're afraid of." She smiled slightly. "Turns out they should be afraid of me." David looked at the tunnel behind her. He could hear sounds in the distance, clicking, growling, heavy footsteps. The predators were gathering. They were learning that the corridors of Level 3 had become a death trap. Now they were looking for the source. "They're coming," he said. "I know," Emily said. She stood up and stretched her back. "I've been pushing them toward the cargo bay for the last hour. Most of the smaller ones are already inside. The bigger ones are more careful. They're waiting to see what happens." "What about the apex?" David asked. The apex were the most dangerous creatures in the containment wing. Intelligent pack hunters. They had killed more humans than any other alien species. Emily's expression changed. Just for a moment, something cold flickered in her eyes. "They're watching," she said. "They've been watching me since I killed my first Vroth. They're trying to understand what I am." "And what are you?" David asked. Emily looked at him. In the red light, her eyes looked almost black. "I'm what happens when prey gets tired of running," she said. "I'm what humans become when we stop pretending to be civilized." She picked up her knife and started walking toward the cargo bay. David followed her. Behind them, in the darkness of the station, the predators began to gather. They had been hunting all night. They had killed many prey. But now they sensed something different. Something wrong. Something was hunting them back. Subject 1, as the station scientists called him, crouched in the shadows of the ventilation shaft above corridor 12. He was 9 feet tall when standing, covered in dark scales that shifted color to match his surroundings. His eyes, 6 of them, arranged in a circle around his skull, could see in almost total darkness. His claws could cut through metal. His teeth could crush bone. He was the perfect predator. His species had ruled their homeworld for 10,000 years. They had spread to the stars. They had hunted creatures on 100 different planets. Nothing had ever truly threatened them until they met the humans. Subject 1 remembered the raid on the human colony. His pack had attacked at night, expecting easy prey. Soft creatures with no claws, no fangs, no natural weapons. The humans should have died quickly. Instead, the humans had fought back. Not with strength, they were weak compared to the apex, but with something else. Something Subject 1 had never seen before. They had used tools, fire, traps, poisons. They had organized, communicated, adapted. When the apex killed 1 human, 10 more appeared with new weapons. The raid that should have taken 1 night lasted 3 weeks. By the end, half of Subject 1's pack was dead. The survivors were captured, brought to this station, studied like animals. Subject 1 had waited. He had watched. He had learned. When the containment barriers failed tonight, he had not rushed out like the lesser creatures. He had observed. He had planned Dot, and then he had seen her. The human female was small, fragile-looking. She should have been easy prey. But Subject 1 watched her kill 5 rats in under 10 minutes. He watched her disable a scorian with a simple chemical trick. He watched her herd predators like cattle, pushing them where she wanted them to go. She moved like a predator. She thought like a predator. But she was something more. Something Subject 1 did not have a word for. Now, finally, it was time to test her himself. Emily entered Cargo Bay 4 expecting trouble. She had pushed most of the smaller predators into Bay 7, sealing them in with the manual lockdown. But she knew the apex were still out there. They were too smart to fall for simple traps. The cargo bay was huge, a warehouse filled with shipping containers stacked 3 high. The emergency lights cast long shadows between the metal boxes. Perfect hunting ground for an ambush predator. Emily stopped in the center of the bay. She knew she was being watched. She could feel it. "I know you're here," she said. Her voice echoed in the empty space. "I've been waiting for you." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the shadows moved. Subject 1 dropped from the ceiling and landed 10 meters in front of her. He was enormous, the biggest creature she had seen tonight. His scales shifted from black to gray as he stood upright. His 6 eyes focused on her with terrible intelligence. 2 more apex emerged from behind the shipping containers. They flanked her, blocking escape routes. A hunting formation. Subject 1 had done this 1,000 times. "Human," Subject 1 said. His translator turned his growls into flat mechanical words. "You have killed many tonight. My pack has been watching. We are impressed." Emily did not move. She did not show fear. "I've been watching you too," she said. "You're the ones who raided the colony on Mars. Killed 47 people. Ate them." Subject 1 tilted his head. A gesture that might have been curiosity. "Prey is prey," he said. "We did not know humans were different then. We thought you were like the others, soft, weak, afraid. And now?" Subject 1 took a step closer. His claws scraped against the metal floor. "Now I know you are something else. Something new. But you are still only 1. We are 3. The math is simple." Emily smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Let me tell you something about humans," she said. "We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. Ice ages, predators, diseases, other humans. Everything wanted us dead. Do you know what we did?" Subject 1 did not answer. His pack was moving closer, tightening the circle. We survived, Emily continued. We didn't have claws or fangs or venom. So we made tools. We made fire. We made weapons. We learned to hunt things bigger and stronger than us. We drove species to extinction. We conquered our entire planet. And then we came to the stars. She reached slowly into her pocket. Subject 1 tensed, ready to strike. Emily pulled out a small device. A detonator. Look around you, she said. Really look. Subject 1's eyes scanned the cargo bay. For the first time, he noticed the wires. Thin cables running from container to container, connecting to pressurized tanks, fuel cells, chemical storage units. The entire cargo bay was rigged to explode. I set this up an hour ago, Emily said, while I was running from your pack. Every container in this bay is full of something flammable, explosive, or toxic. If I press this button, nothing survives. Not me. Not you. Nothing. You would die, Subject 1 said. His voice held something new. Uncertainty. Probably, Emily agreed. But here's what you don't understand about humans. We're not afraid of death. We're afraid of losing. If I can't survive, I'll make sure you don't either. That's what your species never understood when you attacked our colony. We don't run when we're cornered. We fight, even when it's hopeless. Even when it kills us. She took a step toward Subject 1. The massive predator did not move forward to meet her. He stayed where he was. Your pack attacked families, Emily said. Her voice was quiet now, cold. Children. You ate them while they screamed. Did you think there would be no consequences? Did you think humans would just forget? Subject 1 was silent. His pack had stopped moving. They were watching him, waiting for orders. I read your file, Emily continued. I know how your species works. You only respect strength. You only understand the language of predators. So let me speak that language clearly. She raised the detonator higher. I am not prey, she said. I have never been prey. My ancestors hunted wolves and bears and lions. We killed mammoths with wooden spears. We spread across our world like a plague because nothing could stop us. You think you're the apex predator? You're not. You never were. You just never met a human who decided to stop pretending. The silence stretched between them. The two other apex looked at their leader. They had never seen Subject 1 hesitate before. Finally, Subject 1 spoke. What do you want? He asked. Get on your knees, Emily said. All of you, now. Subject 1 stared at her for a long moment. His 6 eyes blinked slowly. In 10,000 years of his species' history, no apex had ever knelt to another creature. Subject 1 knelt. The others followed. Emily did not lower the detonator. She stood there, a small human woman facing 3 massive alien predators, and she did not waver. Security Chief Kim will be here soon, she said. You will surrender peacefully. You will return to containment. And you will tell the others, all the others, every predator on this station, exactly what happened here tonight. What should we tell them? Subject 1 asked. Emily leaned closer. Her eyes were hard as stone. Tell them they picked the wrong human. Security Chief David Kim kicked open the door to Cargo Bay 4 with his weapon raised, expecting blood and death. Instead, he found silence. Emily Park sat on a metal crate near the center of the bay. She was drinking water from a canteen, her legs dangling over the edge like a child sitting on a fence. Her clothes were torn and dirty. There was blood on her hands and face. But she looked peaceful, almost relaxed. Around her, arranged in a wide circle, were 31 alien predators. Wrath, scorians, crimson eels, and creatures David did not have names for. They were restrained with emergency cables, containment nets, and makeshift barriers built from shipping containers. And in the center, kneeling on the cold metal floor, were three Apex, the most dangerous creatures in the known galaxy, kneeling like servants before a queen. David lowered his weapon slowly. "How?" he asked. Emily shrugged. "My grandmother always said, you don't have to be the biggest predator. You just have to be the smartest one." She took another drink of water. "Also, I grew up castrating bulls on a ranch in Montana. It's hard to be scared of anything after that." David walked through the cargo bay, checking the restraints. Every predator was secure. Some were unconscious, knocked out by chemicals or blunt force. Others were awake, but still, watching Emily with something in their eyes that looked like respect. Or fear. Maybe both. He stopped in front of Subject 1. The massive apex was still kneeling. Its 6 eyes tracked David as he approached. "This one surrendered?" David asked. "They all did," Emily said. Eventually, Subject 1 spoke. Its translator made the words sound flat, but there was something underneath them. Something that sounded almost like admiration. "The human female is not prey," it said. "She is something else. Something we have not encountered before." "She's a xenobiologist," David said. "No," Subject 1 replied. "She is a predator. A true predator. We did not recognize it at first because she does not look like one. She has no claws, no fangs, no natural weapons. But she does not need them. Her weapon is here." The apex tapped a claw against its own skull. "Her mind, her will, her refusal to accept that she is prey." David looked at Emily. She was still sitting on the crate, watching this conversation with quiet amusement. "The containment breach," David said. "How did you survive? You were alone down here for hours." "I wasn't surviving," Emily said. "I was managing the situation. There's a difference." She stood up and stretched her back. Her joints popped. Predators think in patterns. Hunt, kill, eat, rest. They expect prey to run, hide, panic. When something breaks that pattern, they don't know what to do. So I broke the pattern by hunting them, by being more dangerous than they expected. Emily walked toward the door. "Come on, we need to get these creatures back into containment before the rescue ships arrive. I don't want to explain to Galactic Command why the station is full of loose aliens." The next 6 hours were chaos of a different kind. Rescue ships arrived from the nearest military base. Medical teams flooded the station. Security forces helped round up the remaining predators that Emily had missed. The death toll was bad. 112 crew members dead. Another 60 injured. The station itself was damaged beyond repair. It would need to be abandoned and rebuilt. But it could have been worse. Much worse. Without Emily's intervention, the estimates suggested that no one would have survived. David filed his report at noon station time. He included everything: the containment failure, the evacuation, and most importantly, Dr. Emily Park's actions during the crisis. He attached security footage, sensor logs, and witness statements. The report was classified immediately, not because of the containment breach itself. The Galactic Council classified dozens of similar incidents every year. Predators escape sometimes. That was the risk of studying dangerous creatures. No. This report was classified because of what happened next. 3 days after the incident, 17 different species filed formal requests with the Galactic Council. Each request said the same thing. Their predator specimens were to be permanently transferred to stations far from human space. They were not to be held within 3 solar systems of any human settlement. Ever. The Council was confused. These species had never cooperated on anything before. Many of them were natural enemies. Yet here they were, united in a single demand. David was present when the Council asked Subject 1 to explain. The Apex stood in the hearing, Chamber properly restrained, of course, and faced the representatives of 100 worlds. Its translator converted its growls into words that echoed through the room. "We thought we were hunting prey," Subject 1 said. "We have hunted prey across many worlds. We believed humans were like the others, soft, weak, easy to kill. And now?" The council representative asked. Subject 1's 6 eyes blinked slowly. "Now we understand the truth. Humans are not prey. They have never been prey. They are predators wearing the skin of prey. They allow other species to believe they are harmless because it serves them to be underestimated." The chamber was silent. "One human," Subject 1 continued. "One small female with no weapons, no armor, no natural advantages. She killed more of us in one night than we lost in 3 weeks of fighting an entire human colony. She did not hide. She did not run. She hunted us. She used our own instincts against us. She made us afraid." Subject 1 paused. When it spoke again, its voice was quieter. "We are apex predators. We have feared nothing for 10,000 years. But we fear her. We fear what she represents. We fear what humanity truly is, underneath the soft skin and the friendly smiles." The council representative leaned forward. "What do you believe humanity truly is?" Subject 1 answered without hesitation. "They are the thing that predators never expected to find. They are prey that learned to hunt. They are the soft creatures that became harder than stone. They are the species that looked at a universe full of monsters and decided to become the worst monster of all." The chamber remained silent for a long moment. "We request," Subject 1 concluded, "that we never encounter humans again. We will not make the same mistake twice. We will not hunt them. We will not threaten them. We will stay far away from their worlds, their stations, their ships. We have learned our lesson." The council granted the request. Emily Park never attended the hearing. She was back on Earth by then, taking a mandatory vacation. She spent 2 weeks on her family's ranch in Montana, riding horses and watching the mountains turn white with early snow. Her mother asked her once what had happened on the station. Emily just smiled and said it was nothing. Just another night shift. Just another problem that needed solving. She never told her family what she had done. She never told anyone. The classified reports would gather dust in some government archive. The creatures she had fought would remember, but they would never speak of it. Some things were too frightening to discuss. On her last night at the ranch, Emily walked out to the edge of the property and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, on distant worlds, predators were telling stories about her, warning each other, passing down the tale of the human female who had taught them to fear. Emily smiled in the darkness. Let them remember. Let them be afraid. Humanity had spent a long time pretending to be harmless, pretending to be civilized, pretending to be prey. But the universe was starting to learn the truth. Humans were never prey. They were something far more dangerous. They were the hunters who had learned to wait, the predators who wore masks of kindness, the monsters who had decided, long ago, that the best way to survive was to make everything else afraid. Emily turned and walked back to the ranch house. Tomorrow she would return to work. There were new creatures to study, new threats to understand, new challenges to face, and somewhere in the galaxy, predators would whisper her name and remember the lesson she had taught them. Never hunt humans. Never threaten humans. Never underestimate humans. Because sooner or later, you would encounter the wrong one. And then you would learn what humanity truly was.